Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I'm Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today, we're going to be talking about the fact VR just isn't sexy anymore. Bling. Joking aside, the allure of VR, the fact that it was this new shiny tech that a lot of people didn't have and didn't know what it's about, well, that's gone. And we're kind of in a new state of VR. Not for better or worse, but today we're going to be talking about that fact. And this actually plays into many other factors like how the industry continues to be hyped and even the coverage we get from YouTubers and other content creators. That's going to be a big part of this video. It's pretty interesting stuff, guys. So now there are, of course, links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead to a certain part. But before we jump in, this video is brought to you by the action-packed roguelike shooter Dead Hook and their brand new Terrapod update. Inspired by high adrenaline shooters like Doom and featuring mechanics made specifically for VR, this game just got even better. The Terrapod update allows you to rip through enemies with your bare hands. Plus, they've added 5 new elite enemies and 2 ancient weapons. So if you're interested in fast-paced combat, use the link in the description to check out this game. Unfortunately, we have to start this video with a little bit of history. I know, history's boring. But when it comes to tech, we like, no, it's not. It's pretty cool stuff. So it all starts back in 2016. There was a ton of hype about VR's commercial release to the point that then Facebook purchased Oculus, a startup, for $2 billion. So this definitely helped fuel the hype. Also, one of the major players in PC gaming, Valve, was heavily invested in VR. So obviously people were excited. Now, other people who aren't really informed on this tech were thinking like, okay, this is the new iPhone, and they wanted to get in there as quick as possible. Even AAA studios were all excited and pursuing VR, but once somebody sat down and really looked at the numbers, they realized they couldn't throw a traditional flat screen budget towards a VR game because the money's just not there. And this is where VR went into the dark ages. I know it's a bit ridiculous to consider any time period the dark ages of VR because this is still a pretty new tech, but between 2016 and about 2018, there was no content for VR. Just like nothing at all. Everything was a tech demo, 30 minutes long, and all we had was technology that we thought was viable. You know, we saw a lot of potential in it, but just no content to go along with it. And like I said, that saw the change between 2017 and 2019, where we had the golden age of PCVR. That's ridiculous, another naming convention there that I'm giving it, but many people feel that way, myself included. We have viable hardware and a handful of alluring titles like Half-Life Alyx. Unfortunately though, the burden of entry was still really high. You needed a headset that's roughly at least $600, and then you have to combine it with a gaming machine, which was stronger than what most people on Steam's platform actually had at the time. So you most likely needed a PC upgrade plus a $600 or more VR headset. So for most people, getting into VR looked cool, but it was just a pipe dream. Now, Meta worked to resolve this issue by developing the Quest, a standalone device. The original Quest didn't really hit the mark exactly, but things popped off when we got to the Quest 2. That might be a combination of factors. You have to remember, we were all locked in our houses at that time, so we needed something to do. The headset itself was heavily subsidized. Getting the headset down to $300 was extremely impressive. They had to take a significant loss to be able to do that. And then on top of that, this was once again a new shiny object. VR was super niche with only the PCVR extremist crowd really getting into it. And now it was available to everyone, and it wasn't this nonsense Google Cardboard. It was a very good experience overall. So VR blew up, and now there's roughly 20 million Quest headsets out there. Okay, so we did it, boys. VR's becoming mainstream. Let's pop some champagne. It was selling better than the Xbox at one point in time. All right, VR all the way. So where are we now? Well, this is where things aren't as fantastic. And that's why Meta is once again trying to move into something new with AR. They got to keep scaling. They got to keep it growing. They got to make it practical for everyone. Right now, it's still a niche gaming device, but the Quest train has stopped gaining speed, and we have to stop and ask why and what's going to happen in the future. Now, the Quest headset still targets gamers, but you could kind of chop gamers into 2 main categories, and that's casual, and there's the more enthusiast group. Obviously, there's plenty of people in between, but let's just go down those 2 paths. For a casual gamer, they don't really need a VR headset. They're going to sit there and play casual games on their phone. That's what the casual gamer has become. And then when you add this burden of having to put a headset on, charging it, looking for the controllers, any little obstacle is enough to just turn off a casual gamer. And when you go to the enthusiast gamer, the one that plays everything, they like, you know, a real challenge, whatever the case may be. They're really into Call of Duty. Well, they're going to find these Quest games shallow. They're missing components, and the immersion and new technology is not making up for it for them. So that group drops off, casual people drop off, and only the people who really love VR kept playing. Now, that's not to say that retention is terrible on the Quest 2. I know that concept is out there, but no one has the official information, and I hear conflicting things constantly. Regardless, it's definitely not 20 million Quest owners still playing every day. It's not even close. But let's slide into that main topic, the allure of VR and why it's gone. Well, with 20 million headsets out there, it's not that rare anymore. Usually when things are rare, there's more intrigue surrounding them, but people have seen it. And like I said, it might not be for the casual gamers, or it might not be for the enthusiasts. So a little bit of the hype drops there. Also, we've had some horrible presentations from Meta. It's like they go out of their way to make VR look lame. That does not help, and neither does general media coverage. There's been so many terrible commercials referencing VR, or anything to make VR look bad. It's really weird how it's still kind of taboo. Like, they just like show someone looking goofy in a VR headset. Yeah, we all look goofy, but it's fun. So who cares? We don't make fun of people who are like goofy dancing in their houses or whatever the case may be. And this is actually blended into the whole content creator scene. So VR used to be this area where if you want to do well, you just had to run around screaming hype, hype, hype. There's a big joke about how titles have huge, insane, amazing, game-changing. I mean, that's just part of YouTube and trying to grab the algorithm. But if you look at some numbers, all the big channels, as of January 2022, there's been a pretty steady decline in just about everyone. So viewers aren't buying the whole hype thing anymore, or they're just not as interested in VR. That whole echo chamber, well, it's coming to its end in a way, and people need to change with it. I personally feel I've always been very honest with you guys when it comes to VR, and even more so recently. You know, I tell you guys like it is. I don't sugarcoat things. I do want the best for VR, but sometimes it's very easy to see its flaws. So what's the future of VR? No, it's not dead. You know, I might be a little pessimistic. And again, historically, you guys have, you know, kicked my butt for being down on VR at times. And I feel like I'm just being real and giving them an opportunity to improve. Like, hey, this is what's wrong. You got to fix it. The whole hype, hype, hype is what got us to today. So back on track with my conversation here. Tomorrow is still up in the air. Now, I always believe that VR will be a technology used indefinitely. There are so many areas where it's beneficial, and there are people who love that whole aspect of VR gaming and VR socializing. That will never change. Will it become this mainstream, everyone has the type of product that Meta's aiming for? It's still really up in the air. And that's why the Meta Quest 3 is going to have to prove a couple things. I've spoken about it. If they want to get to that product, they have to show off AR. They have to show that it's something we want and need in our lives. You know, we didn't know the benefits of a cell phone 20 years ago. We just wanted to make phone calls. Now, people do everything on their cell phone. And we want to add that functionality into a VR headset. Lots of aspects to it. And that is one potential future where they're going to get the technology super slim, nice and cheap, excellent software that works really smooth, maybe works in conjunction with your phone. That is one potential future, one that Meta is betting on and really wants. And the other one is just never pull it off. And VR remains niche. You know, it's still something that we really enjoy. Certain people really enjoy and do use, and it's used in industry, but it's just not a household item. I hope that's not the case, but only time will tell. And I think we're still like 10 years out from that question being answered. Okay, guys, this was another one of my rambly discussion videos to get us all to think about VR, discuss current status. I would love to hear your feedback down below. Again, these videos are different style. I'm just being a lot more open, no script, telling you guys like it is. I hope you enjoy that. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you guys on next time.